Hi everyone, today's Monday, August 6, 2019. It is around 5:50 a.m. right now. A little bit before sunrise. The sun's actually rising in about 5 minutes or so. But today I'll be taking you on a walk down Broadway to the Flatiron Building from the 49th Street subway station. Manhattan looks completely different in the early morning. There's a lot fewer people, fewer cars, fewer traffic, or less traffic actually. I can't count the number of traffic. There's a difference between saying the word fewer and lesser. You use lesser than when the number of objects is indeterminate, and fewer than if you're able to count the number of objects. So here it is, Midtown Manhattan in the early morning. As you can see, it is the city that never sleeps because there's still people walking about. And let's see how Times Square looks in this early morning light. I did forget to mention the temperature is 73 degrees Fahrenheit, 23 degrees Celsius. So it's actually a very comfortable summer morning. The ground is still wet. I don't know exactly why. There was a short sprinkle last night, but I doubt this rain is left over from then. Look at all these cars. It's still busy around here, even though it's not the peak rush hour. The peak rush hour will only happen in about an hour or so. Here's the Renaissance New York Hotel. And now at 47th Street, I've crossed over into Times Square officially. Let's see if anybody's around in Times Square, particularly tourists. And also let's see what kind of new billboards are up. That Hershey's cookie looks really good. There's some advertisement for Express, Blue Jeans, Mean Girls, Top of the Rock, Observation Deck. You can find the TKTS booth for discounted theater performance tickets for Broadway and off-Broadway. It's so early that the TKTS booth staircase is closed, where you can get a panoramic view of Times Square. So I'll just have to look at the billboards from the ground level. There's a handful of people in Times Square, not overwhelmingly a lot of people. During the middle of the day, this area will be completely shoulder to shoulder. It's hard to even move because of all the construction. I believe the city is installing security bollards on the left sidewalk That's why about a quarter of the sidewalk is closed off for construction. If you want a great time to take a picture in Times Square, now's the time to do it. Early in the morning when no one else is around. Before all these stores open. I love that blue whale advertisement. It's swimming all the way to the top. Seriously, this entire sidewalk in Times Square is closed. I have to use the other side. Well, thankfully, I just only have to go around. But wow, this is annoying. Here's the update on the sidewalk construction for Times Square. You see, these are the new bollards which are being installed. It's still wrapped in plastic with these metal plates. It should be a lot more secure than these right now. I think it's a good idea to have these bollards installed. It will prevent any kind of vehicle from driving up onto the crosswalk. They should actually have more of them around the city, actually. I wonder why this corner is all closed off for construction. What's being installed here? Maybe another bollard, not too sure. Looks like the sun is just about to come up. The bad thing with all these tall buildings is it's hard to see the sunrise. All these skyscrapers will block out the sun from setting or rising. All the angles to view it will be blocked. This pedestrian plaza is all closed, but you can get a lot of good services and food here, ranging from the Strand bookstore to burgers and taqueria, Coney Shack, even free live music. NYPD is stationed outside on this block of Times Square as usual. This is the headquarters of NASDAQ, the electronic stock exchange. Walgreens has an advertisement on the side of One Times Square, where they have a store presence on the first floor. I guess the advertising space comes with the store lease. Not sure how that works, but it's there. Here are some New York City pigeons I always see them around even early on in the day. Looking down 42nd Street and the other side. Something is being installed here with all this white paint. Not exactly sure what's going on here. Perhaps it's a new art exhibit, or they're redesigning the pedestrian space. This area is actually supposed to look like this here. The green painted bike lane with the pedestrian brown paint section to the right. It's kind of strange coming down here when all these stores are still closed. You see all the windows and all the items for sale, but you can't go in to buy any of it. Paris Baguette is open. Always a good thing to have open because you need your morning coffee or bagels, other pastries. So folks, this is how the city cleans the pedestrian plazas using a pressure washer. You can see the workers here. Pressure washers are much needed in New York City. They're pretty much the only things that can get rid of the gum that's stuck on the floors or wash off all that gunk that's been sitting out. Here we have workers sweeping and using dustpans and cleaning up the garbage. Always good to see. Although the pedestrian plaza still looks dirty though, I suspect that they will make their way down Broadway to clean it up. Probably those people sweeping up the garbage goes first, and then the pressure washer people. Doesn't make sense to pressure wash before sweeping the area. Otherwise, they just push away the garbage somewhere else. This is 39th Street. Prada Manager is just about to open. I do see a worker inside. They open at 6:30 a.m. Right now it's 6:04 a.m. All your souvenir shops are closed. They have the famous "I Love New York" t-shirt design in the morning, in the window. They should redesign the t-shirt and say, "I don't love early mornings," because the tourists aren't out yet. Well, actually, they should redesign it and say, I don't love early mornings in New York City. That's why I wake up late and go to Times Square when it's the most busy. Marjam trucking companies trying to make a quick turn. Yeah, this pedestrian plaza is so dirty. I'm glad they're cleaning it up, or about to anyway. I see there's people just sprawling out all over the chairs, getting some rest. I suspect some of them are homeless too. It's a shame, actually. At least the consolidation is that it's warm out and it's not too hot. Wow, that entire area across the street is full of seagulls. I'm gonna go check it out. This block of Broadway is closed. As I mentioned in a previous video, they should just close off Broadway from Times Square all the way to 34th Street, because having this one block closed doesn't make any sense for motor vehicle traffic if they can only travel like 3 blocks and then they're forced to turn. I didn't even know Seagulls came to Midtown, or at least this far in. Oh my gosh. There's New York City for you. Seagulls eating pizza. That was pretty funny. I think one seagull chased away another one because he was stealing their food. I wonder who left an entire box of pizza for them. They're just chowing it down like nothing. That's an interesting sight to see. You don't see all every day. You know what? I think I'll go back and film it just a little bit more without narration. I'll post it up without narration. Maybe it will go viral. Seagulls eating pizza. Oh, they're fighting over the pizza. Looks like I scared most of them away already, so I'm about to get out of here before I get bombed by one of these seagulls. Seagull number 2 is something I definitely want to avoid, but that was pretty entertaining. What time does Shake Shack open? I'm curious. 10:30 a.m. Yeah, we're about 4 hours and 20 minutes too early for Shake Shack. I'm sure they'll get a lot of the lunch crowd, but none for early morning. I am approaching Herald Square at Broadway and 35th Street. Famously home to the Macy's building. I believe Macy's opens around 9 o'clock in the morning, maybe 9:30. There's the Empire State Building in the background. Macy's store. There's two people camped out there with luggage and chairs. World's largest store, Macy's. Self-proclaimed world's largest store. Some more people camped out with luggage. Here's another person sleeping on top of the NYPD sugar cube bollard. Sad to see, but the city and society should do more to help them out. It's also important to help the homeless out whenever you have time or resources. This bike lane is completely new. It's been redesigned. Sixth Avenue has quite a bit of traffic right now. Here's the Gap, the latest fashion styles for the Gap. Here's the Pandora Jewelry Company and probably a street vendor's wares about to set up. This is actually interesting, the Plaza 33 ping pong tables or table tennis. I haven't really seen these until recently, but they're a welcome addition to the area, a permanent table tennis setup. Here's 33rd Street. Across the street is the Manhattan Mall and JCPenney store, which takes up the entire second floor and the first floor or the basement. No, I correct myself. It is the first floor or the basement. They take up the entire space. Here's a huge group of pigeons. These pigeons are very, very happy. They've got it made in New York. Urban pigeons are the descendants of the African rock dove. They've required little adaptation because the high city skyscrapers and ledges resemble their rocks in native Africa. That's why they've been able to adapt in so many cities around the world. I think that pigeon is universally known everywhere. I did read that normally they don't pose problems, with the exception of their excrement and their poop. Their poop carries a lot of diseases and can do things like strip paint off of cars and buildings. It also makes cleanup very, very disgusting. Here's what happens when you don't have a proper drain system. The water just ponds over the street like this and causes problems in the infrastructure. That's why sometimes there's cave-ins and potholes, because the water gets into the ground and the ground underneath becomes very, very fragile and soft. This section of Manhattan is completely quiet. Every single business to the left of me is closed. It's actually quite amazing how these business gates have no graffiti on them, with the exception of that one. I think the height of the graffiti issues happened around the 80s and the early 90s. Possibly even in the 60s and 70s as well. But graffiti was much more prevalent back then. If you look back clips at what the subway looked like back then, these subway cars were just filled with graffiti on the outside and the inside of the cars. Now if there's graffiti, it immediately gets taken to the shop where it gets covered over and removed. Now I'm finally out of the 30s. This is 29th Street. There's another hotel over here. Here you can see some construction going on, and behind me as well, I forgot to pan my camera up before, but you can see it. It's actually a work elevator going up right now, slowly to the top floors. But New York is always under construction. There's always scaffolding in New York City as well. Maxwell's Chop House retail space for lease. And it's gone now. It's only been open for 1.5 years, according to the sign. Across the street, you have the Union Rat. That's normally displayed by protesters who work for the construction company because they are not getting the benefits they think they deserve from the employer, such as pay and time off and rights on the job. So they'll use that Union Rat to shame the employer into giving in. Looks kind of funny, actually. I think its name is Scabbers the Rat. There was one funny incident I remember reading where they put up the Union Rat, the Scabbers Rat, and then the employer just put up a gigantic balloon cat. And then the union had to order a bigger rat. And then the employer got a really, really big cat to top that one. Here's 27th Street. The sun is completely up right now. It does seem to be the end of magic hour as well. Well, actually, no, magic hour, there's still about 15 minutes left in it according to my app. Magic hour is when the light is very soft in the sky, and it's a great time to take photos and video. Starbucks coffee is open. They opened at 6 o'clock in the morning. I may get some coffee after this. What I'll do is, since I've been walking down this part of the Street Broadway for a long time, I'll walk over to 5th Avenue and show you that side, what it looks like. Someone's hosing down the sidewalk. They don't need a pressure washer here. Stepping over the hose 2 times because it's crawling around. There's 5th Avenue looking northbound. Here's Madison Square Park. Madison Square Garden, the home of the New York Knicks, used to be located within Madison Square Park until it moved to its current location at 34th Street and 7th Avenue on top of Penn Station many years ago. I believe Madison Square Garden is still looking for a home, and the lease is almost up actually. Don't know if they'll be moving, but that's where the current location is. Madison Square Park is very, very empty right now. I do see a few people in there, so it's not completely empty, but relatively there's a lot less people than in the middle of the day. This is a popular lunchtime hangout spot for many people who work here. It's also the headquarters of Shake Shack. Well, the first Shake Shack, the headquarters can't be here because it just seems like it'll be out of place. But this is where Shake Shack started, in Madison Square Park, as a shack. There's the magnificent Flatiron Building, originally known as the ⁴ Building, one of the earliest skyscrapers in New York City and one of the tallest in New York City when it was built. Okay, walk signals on. Well, that's it for this video, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this pre-sunrise walk from Times Square to the Flatiron Building. I enjoyed it as well. It was very, very comfortable walking around compared to the hot summer temperatures as of recent. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video, give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you all next time.